Look, every phone is a series of trade-offs. The engineers sit in a room, they pick what matters, and they sacrifice something else to get there. But the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra might be the most interesting case study in trade-off thinking we've ever seen from a flagship phone for years now. And this is not a diss, it's actually kind of fascinating. I've been using this phone for about a week. Before that, my impressions were based purely on footage, and those impressions were genuinely positive. Now that it's been in my hand daily for 7 days, I have thoughts, specific ones. So let's get to it. This is the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra, pricing at $1,300 as starting price. And I need to tell you exactly what you're getting and exactly what you are not getting. Now let's start with the design because Samsung made some changes here. The phone is thinner, it's lighter, the corners are more rounded, bringing it in line with the rest of Samsung's flagship lineup, which honestly just makes everything look more cohesive. It looks great, it takes good pictures, but trade-offs because the corners are now curved, the slot where the S Pen lives is no longer flat. It's capped with a slight curve. That means the S Pen now only inserts in one way. Last year, flat bottom didn't matter, but this year you have to think about it. Small thing, really annoying. They also moved from a camera bump to more of a camera plateau. Now we have raised rings sitting on top of a platform. It looks premium and architectural, but combined with the thinner body, that bigger bump now makes this phone rock aggressively on a flat table when you're trying to type without a case. I noticed it constantly. Most people will slap a case on this immediately and never think about it again. But if you're a case-free person, heads up. Oh, they switched back to aluminium sides from titanium. Functionally, it makes zero difference, but it does mean more people online will absolutely roast Samsung for going backwards, while iPhone users flex their titanium frames. That's just the internet anyways. Now let's talk about the privacy stuff that costs you something. And this is the centerpiece of the S26 Ultra, the headline feature, I would say. And it is genuinely cool, but I need to break it down for you honestly because there is a nuance here and I don't think the marketing makes it very clear. On paper, the specs look similar to last year's 6.9-inch OLED, 144p resolution, 1 to 120 Hz adaptive refresh. Same numbers, but there is one massive new addition, and that is the privacy display. Here's how it works. You toggle it on from the quick settings and viewing angles on your screen dramatically narrow instantly. Nobody looking over your shoulder can see what's on your screen, not from the side, not from above, not from below. All angles are blocked. It's like having a screen protector built directly into the display, except better than any screen protector because this works in both horizontal and vertical direction. But it gets even more useful than that because it's built into the display hardware itself. You can configure it to activate only for specific apps. Your banking apps, private, your messages, private, your incoming notifications, private. Meanwhile, you are watching YouTube in full wide screen glory, and that's genuinely clever. Now, I actually bought a microscope for this part of the review because I wanted to show you what's actually happening under the hood. What Samsung has done is engineer two types of pixels on this display. There is the wide angle pixels that everyone can see from everywhere and narrow angle pixel with some kind of focusing lens on them that are only visible from directly in front of the screen. When privacy mode is off, both sets of pixels are on. That is, you get full resolution and full brightness. But when you turn the privacy mode on, the wide angle pixels shut off automatically, leaving the narrow angle pixels working. And that's how you get that privacy effect. But here's what that means in practice. When your privacy mode is on, you have literally cut your resolution in half, and you can see it. Edges on text get blockier, fine details soften. It's subtle, but once you know to look for it, you can't unsee it. Peak brightness also drops slightly when privacy mode is on. Samsung does some clever compensation. They boost the output of the remaining pixels to keep perceived brightness roughly the same, and that's clever. But push the screen to max brightness and switch the mode on, you will notice that dip. And here's the thing even non-pixel peepers should care about. Even when privacy mode is completely off, this display is technically compromised compared to a display without this feature, because half of your pixels permanently have those narrow angle lenses on them. Your viewing angles are fractionally worse all the time. There is also a slightly different anti-reflective coating on this glass, not quite as impressive as what we had on the S25 Ultra. And one more thing, it's still an 8-bit panel simulating 10-bit color. At this price point, competing phones have native 10-bit displays. Samsung knows this. They are making a deliberate choice. Now, to be clear, Samsung also knows that most people don't care about any of this. Out of the box, this phone ships at 1080p by default, not 1440p, because Samsung's research says most users prefer the battery life savings. If you want the full resolution, you have to dig into settings and switch it on manually. So if you are not someone who does that, these trade-offs genuinely won't affect you. But if you are a display nerd, if you care about every pixel, know that this is still a very good display, but it is not the best display you can get for $1,300. Ironically, the best display you can get for $1,300 is probably also made by Samsung, just inside a different phone. On the performance and battery side, I would say it is great, but left money on the table. The chip is the Snapdragon 8 Elite Generation 5, customized for Galaxy. I benchmarked it against the OnePlus 13, which runs the standard Snapdragon 8 Elite. The Samsung version actually scores slightly higher. We are talking roughly 20 to 30% CPU improvement year over year, which is right in line with what we expect from a new generation. Is the performance amazing? Yes, I would say. Is it a formality at this point? I would say yes also. Animations are buttery. You have multitasking, heavy multitasking, no issues. Demanding games here are much like handled. The redesigned vapor chamber does its job even inside a thinner body. Battery life is slightly better than last year, same 5000 milliamp hour cell, but more efficient chip and smarter software means you get a bit more out of it. Charging peaks at 60 watts now, which is a modest bump up, I'll say. But here is where I have to be honest with you though, because this is where I think Samsung left real performance on the table. No silicon carbon battery. Competitors with silicon carbon batteries are pulling significantly ahead on battery life benchmark. And Samsung has had every reason to move in this direction, but they haven't. Whether it's caution after past battery issues or something else entirely, the ceiling here could have been so much higher. And no built-in magnets, no CH2 ecosystem support. I know Samsung sells cases with magnets in them. I know that's probably a revenue reason, but at $1,300, locking the magnets behind a third-party case feels like a missed opportunity. A phone with bigger battery and built-in magnets would have universally been celebrated. The S Pen still doesn't have a Bluetooth, still no wireless interaction beyond simple navigation. It writes well, it's useful, but it hasn't meaningfully evolved in years. The camera system is mostly carried over from last year, but I think that description undersells how good it actually is, because the changes that did happen are very meaningful. The main camera now has a larger aperture, The 5x telephoto also gets a larger aperture. More light in means better low light performance, slightly softer bokeh on close subjects, and overall more pleasing images in challenging conditions. As a photographer, I will always choose the faster lens when it is available. One thing I noticed going backwards, the minimum focus distance on the main camera got worse. Macro mode still exists, so it's not a deal breaker, but if you are used to getting really close to your subject with the main lens, you will notice it. The more exciting camera news is actually software. Samsung added support for APV log codec, which is a big deal for anyone shooting professional videos on this phone. Log footage means more latitude in post-production and it works very, very well. And then there is horizon lock. This isn't the first time we've seen a stabilization feature like this, but Samsung's implementation is one of the best. It uses massive 200 megapixel sensor to crop in and deliver quad HD video at up to 60 frames per second with rock solid stabilization that keeps your horizon perfectly level even while walking, running, or moving towards a crowd. It looks very cinematic and is legitimately impressive. On the aspect of the AI features, I'll say it's useful, maybe overhyped, and mostly optional. Samsung's marketing calls these features agentic. I'll let you decide what word you want to use for it. There's a lot of AI packed into this phone. Some of it is genuinely great. Call screening is immediately useful. It handles unknown numbers without you having to pick up. Audio Eraser does a very solid job of naturally stripping background noise from recorded video. These are real tools that solve real problems. And then there is Photo Assist, which lets you type or speak a description and have the AI transform your photos into entirely new scenes. You want your vacation photo to look like it was taken during golden hour on Mars, then it does the job. The tech is highly impressive. Whether it's something you actually use is a different question. I try to stress test the AI photo editor with some creative requests. To Samsung's credit, it refused a lot of them. Guardrails are working very nice. I could not get Now Nudge to work at all during my testing week. There were multiple attempts, but nothing came out. That's a new feature designed to surface contextual suggestion during conversations, locations, schedules, photos, right in your chat. When it works, I imagine it will be very useful. I haven't experienced it working though. So here is my honest take on all the AI stuff is take it or leave it. You can use none of it and have a perfectly complete flagship experience, or you can go deep and let it inform every part of your phone use. Neither of these is wrong, but I don't think any of this is a reason to buy this phone over a competitor, especially since most of these features will likely roll out to other Samsung devices through software updates anyway. A quick word on the base S26 and S26 Plus because I think they deserve honest scrutiny. These phones haven't seen meaningful camera updates since the S23. The designs are essentially unchanged. They dropped millimeter wave support. Many regions outside the US are getting Exynos chips instead of Snapdragon. They removed the 128GB storage tier, and instead of dropping the price, they kept it the same, meaning the entry price just went up to $900. For $900, you can get significantly more phone from other manufacturers. Samsung doesn't seem particularly concerned about that. If you want Samsung to change course, the only language that works is purchasing decisions. So my final verdict on this is I would say it's ultra in name and ultra in price. And so where does that leave us? The Galaxy S26 Ultra is a genuinely good phone. The privacy display is a real hardware innovation, the first of its kind on a smartphone, and that counts for something, I'll say. The cameras are excellent, performance is best in class, build quality is premium, software support will be long. but I keep coming back to the same feeling. The price is the most ultra thing about this phone. $1,300 for a device that shipped without silicon carbon battery, without built-in magnets, without Bluetooth S Pen, and with display trade-offs built into its Mac feature. It feels like a phone that had a very high ceiling and chose not to reach it. What Samsung bet on is that one genuinely unique, never seen before hardware feature, that is the privacy display, and it will be enough to move units. They might be right. For a lot of people, it will be. But if you're a kind of person who reads display specs and benchmarks battery tests and notices when half your pixels turn off, you should know exactly what the trade-off is before you swipe that card. This is actually a great phone. It just could have been something much more special. I am Abel and thanks for watching. If you found this useful, hit subscribe and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.